Hi everybody, I'm Brittany Yannick, and my topic is, do animals have personalities? I chose this topic because I'm a biology major and animals tend to interest me. So, what are your personal opinion?
Aim at the thing on the desk. Aim at that. Yep.
Okay. Do you think that animals have personalities? Why or why not? So, who in the class thinks that animals do have personalities? Please raise your hand. Okay, who in the class does not think that animals have personalities? Okay, why do you think that animals don't have personalities?
I don't know, a lot of animals just have one mood, which is not companion. I forget what it is, but I just feel like they don't have any personality.
Okay, and can someone give me an example of why they do think they have personalities? Go ahead.
I think they can they can tell you when they're like happy and they're sad, or when they're sick. Because usually if they're sick, they don't do anything, or if they're sad, they don't do anything. But they're happy, they're all over the place.
Okay.
So they have personality. That's my dog.
Okay. So personality is a person's internally based characteristic ways of thinking and acting. I found most of this information on personality on the Griggs textbook from pages 290 to 316. And psychologists call these internally based characteristics as personality traits. Each personality trait corresponds to a continuum on which one end is the behavior extreme and the other end is the complete opposite of that extreme. So there's two sides to this question. Okay, there's the for and the against. The main reasons why people are for this, which means that animals do have personality, is because of personal experiences and because of credible studies that they've seen. A lot of reasons why there are people that are against this topic is because of the hard science, of course, once you get down to the neuroscience and what makes up the brain in animals and humans, and human confidence, which means human is the highest race and we only have certain things and certain species and animals don't. There was a study done by Wolf, Van Doren, Lamar, and Wessing, and the data was taken over an amount of years and showed how the environments affected the behaviors of these animals. The animals that were living in bad or struggling environments showed aggressive, bold, and frightening or loud type of personalities. And there were also low production rates, which means there wasn't much reproduction. Animals that were living in good environments were shy and non-aggressive, and they had a personality of being human-friendly. There was also a study done by Leslie Evans Ogden, and during the study there was a scenario that occurred, I believe it was somewhere in Washington, maybe, and it involved the changing personality of an animal due to the willingness to survive. So it showed that before the wolves were abundant, the elk lived peacefully in wooded areas, but once the wolf population went up, the elk actually changed their personalities and became more bold and endearing and would actually enter the towns and cities in order to get away from the wolves, which is completely against how elk usually act. There was another study done by Samuel Gosling and Oliver John, and in this study they used a type of test or scale that they would usually use on humans, but they use it on animals, and it's called the FFM, and it tends to describe agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, open to experience, and extroversion. And after they tested all of these by different methods that they usually would use on the humans, out of all the studies, many of the species of the animals were able to relate to 75% of all the categories in the personality scale, which is pretty close to the 100% that the humans were able to. The only one they actually had trouble with I believe, was the openness to experience, which was where some of the percentage fell. The last study, or I'm sorry, this is for the do not sad actually. This is the first one, and it was by Jack Panksepp. And during this, Jack tried to defy past results of historical data by credible sources and using scientific types of analysis of evolutionary endowed brain functions. So he tried to use neuroscience and how brain functions were a big part of this. He also believed it would be impossible for animals to act this way due to the way the brain is made in an animal. The idea that he used was spontaneous generation, if anyone knows what that is. It was kind of like an example where way back when, before humans knew what caused this, they believed that if meat was decaying, that it actually decayed to make flies. They didn't actually believe that the flies came because of the decaying meat. They thought the flies actually came from the meat because they didn't know any better. And he's trying to say that this is what he's comparing to why people think animals have personalities, because he thinks that it's just us coming up with something because we have no other explanation. There was another study that was by Sarah Shuttleworth, and during the study she studied the aha experience, which is kind of like the insight or the idea, and they just showed that animals actually did not have insight or aha moments, but they actually learned this behavior over time in order to survive, which is also known as the survival of the fittest. So she tried saying that it wasn't actually their brain that was telling them to do this, it was a learned reaction from watching what they're used to being around. There was another study by Clive Wine, and in this study, Wine tried to make the point of anthropomorphism, which is not a scientific approach to behavior. Anthropomorphism is pretty much the ascription to animals of human psychological qualities. So what gives us this idea mostly is cartoons and public media and stuff like that, because as you can see, we tend to think that animals have personalities or personality traits due to things that we watch or things that we hear. By the end of the study, he said that anthropomorphism comes from naturally to humans and that we're not used to thinking of going against it, even though it's the logically correct way of thinking. And he says that anthropomorphism allows mentalistic folk psychological accounts of animal psychology that actually have no useful role to play in modern objective science. Okay, so in my opinion, I still believe that animals do have personalities due to what I've learned through this project and also my own personal experiences. Those are 3 of my puppies, and as I see them, they have personalities that I can't even describe. So, personal experience, I believe that animals do have personalities. So, what is your opinion now after the slides? Has anybody's opinion possibly changed? No? Do you still believe animals do not have personalities?
I feel like there's a difference between mood and personality. Like personality is like giggly and talkative and loud. I feel like animals just feel mood, like happy, sad, and depressed, and everything like that.
Okay. And do you still believe in animals do have personalities? Yep. Okay. That's it.